Another time in our concert series. This is the last one for this year, but already we've got them kind of booked out for next year and next season. So we hope and pray that we get the privilege of seeing you again and experiencing this with you. So it is an awesome time, awesome afternoon, and I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank y'all as well. It's awesome that y'all share your gifts and talents with us. Before we begin, let me invite you to take out your cell phones, please, and silence them. The way you do that is there's a button on the side, you turn it and just push it down, right? If you are not familiar with the button, there is someone who is young in your row and you can just hand it to them. Young people in your rows, if someone hands you their phone, please keep it for the rest of the show. They will forget that they've given it to you, and so you will get a new cell phone at the end of the day. It is a win all the way around. Again, my privilege and pleasure to welcome you. As you know, this is a free concert. It is one of those things that we do for the community as a church, but we are welcome and loving for you to support us in this if you want to. No urgency, but I know folks have appreciated being able to help in that. So, at the end of the concert, also at the intermission, there will be people out in the back, and they have buckets. You are welcome to drop some money in there if you want. If you're writing a check, Carson is spelled C-A-R-S-O-N, right? Just like my Uncle Johnny, just wanted to make sure y'all knew that, right? Again, welcome. So glad you are here. Let's open together in prayer. Pray with me. Great and loving God, we thank you for this day, for this opportunity to gather together as your people, and just celebrate in particular the chance to be together, and in particular to be together in this place. We thank you for the gifts that you have given others and the way that they are sharing them with us so that we might be better for it. And we just ask, Lord, that in this time you are glorified and we would just enjoy the gift that is music. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. We're not going to start the concert just yet, but we will in a second. It's my privilege to introduce to you Chaplain Robert Ward.
All right, hopefully am I on? I got my wife and son in the sound booth, so that's the only time I get to acknowledge that they're here, because if I say anything else, they'll turn the mic off, and we'll be there. But yeah, good afternoon. Some people were remarking, I think I was just a brand new second lieutenant the first time I emceed this concert 12 years ago. And I've been here, I think, every year with maybe the exception of one. And it is a joy and an honor not only to stand in the sanctuary where my wife and I were married 25 years ago in October, but also I am a product of this congregation. So if you're a member of Riverside Presbyterian Church, thank you for putting into me and allowing me to stand here in this uniform, because it's an honor. It's an honor to stand in front of you, not only as a representative of this congregation, but also as a representative of the Florida Army National Guard. Currently, I am the battalion chaplain for the 1st to the 111th Aviation Battalion in Jacksonville, Florida. It took me 12 years to finally get back to aviation, but I'm glad that I am there. I like to say I'm amongst my people. If you haven't noticed, I wear a pair of wings on my chest, and I've worn these wings on my chest since the 1900s. So I'm proud to be there, but I'm also proud to represent the nearly 10,000 women and men in our state that wear either an Army uniform or an Air Force uniform. We all look the same, with the exception of the color of the wording. But to be there amongst them and to serve and to walk with them and to be their chaplain, it's an extreme honor. And I do feel like when I'm there ministering to them and taking care of them, I'm taking all of your support with me and handing it and passing it on to them. Coming to events like this lets me know that our community, our state, our nation supports our men and women that put on our nation's uniform. And so I'm able to take that love to them as I go and walk amongst them. So thank you. Thank you for that. And like I said, it's a joy and honor to be here. I've been here for so many years, and every year it's always just exciting. I look forward to it. I'm almost thinking they probably won't have this concert if I wasn't able to be here, but that has yet to be seen. But what really gives me great pleasure, one, in a little bit later on, we'll get to the part which I really love, so I'm just going to tell you right now, if you've worn our nation's uniform, either in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or Merchant Marines, be prepared to sing your service hymn. I know Chris told you to turn off your phones. Hopefully you didn't. You just silence them, because then you can go Google, find the words, because you're going to be expected to stand up and sing. And I expect, the Marines have been doing really good, but I expect my Army brothers and sisters to really help us out this year. But I'll have more to say a little bit later. But it is my honor and my privilege to introduce you to somebody I've got to know as a friend over the years, and it's great to see what he's done with this group here. Not only with what we do on for our nation's Independence Day, but also other concerts and activities that he does all around Central Florida. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Aaron Collins, the director of the Space Coast Symphony Orchestra.
Thank you so very much. How's everyone doing today? So great to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us for this concert. This is our 18th year performing this particular concert at Riverside Presbyterian Church. I had the great pleasure of starting this series with a couple great friends of mine in honor of Dr. Boushell, one of my mentors when I was a young musician coming up. And it's a thrill that this series is thriving and still going on. So how about a big round of applause for Riverside Presbyterian Church for putting on this wonderful series. Those were the days. So we're thrilled to be back here today, and we're going to move on to a work by a friend of mine, Eric Whitaker. Eric Whitaker is one of the most eminent composers that's working today. He has written music for all fields. His specialty started in chorus, but he's written in fields as orchestra bands and pretty much jazz bands, all fields. And he's just one of the great 20th century composers. And this particular piece is called October. It's very indicative of his style and his type of harmony. So I hope you enjoy Eric Whitaker's October. Thank you so very much. Our next work, we have a slight change of program. Originally, we had scheduled my good friend Christopher Marshall's piece called Mendez. But sometimes, we get to a rehearsal, and for this particular concert, we only had 2 hours of rehearsal to put together the entire concert. And sometimes we just can't get our heads or our minds around a certain piece in that amount of time, in under 2 hours. So we weren't able to schedule this particular piece. But we will be programming Chris's music throughout the season, so we encourage you to come check out those concerts. But in its place, we decided to do the great music from Richard Rodgers and Robert Russell Bennett, the music from Victory at Sea. And that includes all 72 hours of music that they wrote for the television series. So, hope you brought a pillow and some snacks. But the United States Navy contacted Richard Rodgers and said, would you do something for our country? And he said, yes, of course I would do something for your country. Little did he know that he was committing to writing music for this incredible docuseries called Victory at Sea. And I would be remiss not to mention Richard Rodgers' writing partner, Robert Russell Bennett, who's an equally talented composer on his own, who did much of the music for the series and a lot of great music from the 20th century. So this is music from Victory at Sea.
How about another round of applause for Aaron and this awesome symphony orchestra? Now, I'm gonna date myself yet once again. In junior high, high school, and college, I was a trombone player, like my brothers back there in the back. My high school band director loves Sousa, so we would play Sousa marches all the time. So to hear Sousa marches and hear ones that I'm familiar with and have played took me down memory lane. It's awesome to be able to hear this beautiful music inside this beautiful sanctuary, is it not? And thank you. And we've been doing this. I mean, we're trying to, it definitely predates the time I've been here, but I would say almost 20 years that we've been doing this concert series in this sanctuary. I don't think that we've ever asked for people to pay for a ticket to come here and watch a concert, which is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing for us to be able to do for the community, to give you a place to go on a hot Sunday afternoon with okay air conditioning. It's kind of cooling down a little bit in here. But, it's one of those things to be able to come here and listen to music for free. But we do ask that if you are able, as Chris mentioned earlier, if you are able to make a contribution either by cash or check, there will be individuals back by the doors after this next piece when we go into our 15-minute intermission. And they'll also be there at the end of the concert so that you can make that donation that helps us support music, being able to have live music here at Riverside Presbyterian Church throughout the year. Which is something amazing that we do. So if you're able to contribute, please do that. And after this next piece, we're going to go into intermission. It's 15 minutes. As you go out the doors, there are bathrooms to the right, both the men and women's rooms. There's plenty of space. There may be some lines, so just understand it may get crowded pretty quickly. But within 15 minutes, we'll be right back in here for some more music and be able to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Do you not agree? All right. Well, one more piece from Aaron, then we're going to take a short break.
Thank you. And once again, one more big round of applause for Riverside Presbyterian Church and all they do for our community. So the buckets will be going around, but before we get to that, so just a few brief comments. If you've been paying attention in the news lately, you've seen that there's been a lot of slash and cuts in arts funding. Recently, I've had the great pleasure of grading all the grants for our county here on the Space Coast and grading grants for other counties as well. And if you heard last year, our county commissioners decided to cut the grant programs here in Brevard County for 25 different groups that provide incredible not only music, but art, just the whole slew of things for our community. I'm going to put politics aside because it's no reason to talk about that. But, both of these grant programs were cut because of one specific, program in each of these things. They targeted one group and they didn't like it, so they cut funding for all of the groups. So the Space Coast Symphony, for example, received about $60,000 to $70,000 in grants, and that's a lot of money. And a lot of these groups that received that type of money is no longer receiving that, and some of them had to fold, and some are going to fold within the next year or two as well because of the funding cuts. So it's a major challenge. So I want to just put a task to you today, and not only just to go support every arts group here in Brevard County, because we've got so many incredible ones, but if you would like, we have flex tickets in the lobby. For today, we are going to sell a flex ticket, a single flex ticket, get you to any concert. You have a schedule. We have 20 upcoming concerts. You can use this flex ticket for any concert. If every single person in this auditorium bought one single flex ticket that you can use for the next year at any of our concerts, that would make up for one of the grants that we lost. So if you're interested and want to, in the lobby during intermission and after the concert, they'll have flex tickets. If you'd like to buy one, we would certainly appreciate it. The musicians would appreciate it. And I know you will appreciate it too, because we got some really killer concerts coming up, and I know you'll have a great time attending any of those concerts. So that being said, just go support other arts groups and all of the great things we have in this community. They make our community truly better, and I'm proud to be a part of the arts community here in Brevard County. So big round of applause for all the arts here in Brevard. So hopefully you'll buy a flex ticket. We're going to close the concerts with a March by Sousa, and this is Fairs to the Fair, and we look forward to performing a great second half for you as well.
There we go. Welcome back for the second half of this afternoon's concert. Everybody got what they needed to get done? I'm not going to ask for any details. Hopefully it all went okay. But we're back for the second half. We got an awesome second half. I'll be back in a little bit to recognize my brothers and sisters that have worn our nation's uniform. But it is again once again my honor and my pleasure to introduce my friend Mr. Aaron Collins as he kicks off the second half of this program.
Thank you very much. Our next work is from a friend of mine. His name is Frank Tichelli. He's one of the most important band composers, and he writes in all mediums, orchestra, jazz band, but he's really made his stamp on writing for the ensemble you see behind me. And this piece is very close to my heart because I had the great privilege of conducting the orchestral version of this, the world premiere of it, with the Pacific Symphony Orchestra. And it was my first time standing in front of a professional orchestra back in the late 90s. And it was such a thrill to be able to present this work. And every one of these concerts, I like to put a couple pieces on the concert that really showcase the tremendous musicians behind me. It's fun doing patriotic music, but we really like to sink our teeth into some music. And like I said, we only have about 2 hours of rehearsal to put this entire concert together. So this particular piece is called Blue Shades. It's a really great piece of music and really pushes everyone to the ends of their instruments. And it has all these different shades of blue. In particular, you'll hear different forms of jazz. You'll hear blues, traditional jazz, and various things. And it also features many musicians throughout the orchestra. And it's just a barn burner of a piece of music that's just going to really highlight the incredible talent we have in our community and these wonderful musicians I call friends behind me. So without further ado, this is Frank Tichelli's Blue Shades.
Was that awesome or what? I don't know how I can follow that. You know, it was amazing watching, hearing you. That was an amazing piece. Thank you. Another round of applause for these amazing musicians. 2 hours. Takes me longer than that just to get ready to go to work. And, well, this is a part of the program that I love. And, you know, when I get to come up here and to stand in front of my brothers and sisters and then get to acknowledge them is amazing. Like I said, I am in the National Guard. I'm a citizen soldier. When I am not wearing this uniform, I am either wearing, well, you'll probably see me after the concerts, blue jeans and a Hawaiian shirt. I don't work for the Army. I actually work for a regional airline, so I usually wear a jacket that has 4 stripes on the side, and I'm an airline captain. And in the National Guard, that's what we do. We're citizens by, you know, the majority of the time, but when our nation needs us or our state needs us, we put on our uniform and we go, whether it be hurricanes, pandemics, or our nation's wars. And as we get to this, I'm not gonna call them out, but somebody made the mention of, well, I was in the National Guard, and we're coming to this part where we sing service hymns, and when do I stand? Well, if you were in the National Guard, and I actually have served both in the Army and the Air National Guard, so I will sing when the Army hymn is played because I am in the Army. And then at one time I was in the Air Force, so I will sing with the Air Force. I'm just as proud of the 3 years that I spent in the Air National Guard as I am of the 17 years that I've spent in the Army. But if you've ever worn our nation's uniform, whether it be in the National Guard, Reserves, or the active component, when your service hymn is played, stand up and be proud of that. You know, those of us that have worn our nation's uniform are a very small group, and we actually get smaller and smaller every day. One of the things I'm proud of is I work for an airline that actually transported some of the last surviving veterans of D-Day over to France and Normandy so that they could be there for the 80th anniversary. And I was very proud. Thank you. To know that a company that I work for takes the time to basically take a very big and expensive airplane to operate and load it up with some people and take them halfway around the world to honor their service is what makes me feel proud. Because I tell my soldiers all the time, I can wear this uniform with pride because men and women like you in the audience have worn it with honor. So this is a part where I get to say that. We're a small group. I'm gonna give you a little story. I told you, Cliff, I wasn't gonna preach, but I'm not gonna preach. But I'm gonna. So last week, I got on the flight deck of an airplane, and the first officer showed up, and military knows military. Anybody agree with me on that one? Those of you that wore the uniform, we know what the stare looks like. The tells. We would be the worst poker players because we know from 1,000 feet away you were in the military. So I looked at him and I said, "Hey, you're in the military." He goes, "Yes, I am." So what do you do? He said, "I'm in the National Guard." And I said, "Oh, I'm in the National Guard too. Where are you in the National Guard?" He says, "Well, I'm a company commander over at Grand Prairie." And I looked at him and I said, "G Company." And it was like the scene from Star Wars when, Obi-Wan said, "That's a name I have not heard in a long time." Because you see, he is the current company commander of the company that I started my Army career in before he was born. I was a 17-year-old high school student that enlisted in the Texas Army National Guard in G Company, 149th Aviation, Grand Prairie, Texas. And then we found out, now if you want to make me feel old, and he made me feel older, I believe, and he kind of confirmed, that I am the last member of my company that deployed in Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm to still be wearing our nation's uniform. Thank you. And then they want me to make sure I'm the last person in uniform that ever served in Desert Storm, but I think my wife's going to have something different to say about that if I want to stick around that long. But it just shows how small the community is of veterans that it only takes a couple of words and we can pretty much will say, "Well, I've been there," or "I know that person." 6 degrees of separation, not amongst veterans. It's about 0.6 degrees of separation from us. So before we get into our service hymns, what I would like to do is, if you have ever worn our nation's uniform, whether it be for one day, for 20 years, whether it be in the Guard, Reserve, active component, will you please stand so we can give you a round of applause? I've done this over the years. I used to say that I was the youngest veteran or youngest person in the room, but it might not be that. But I know somebody set the benchmark, and I heard it was 89. Do we have anybody that's ever worn our nation's uniform that's older than 89 years of age? If you are, and you can stand up. I'm gonna shoot for the moon. Anybody over the age of 95? 95. Do I have anybody over the age of 95? So I'm gonna go 94. Right there. 94. All right, we're right there. He's pointing. All right, we got. All right, and we got. So where is he? Right here. This gentleman right here. 94? I'm getting ready to be 95. Thank you. No, thank you for your service. I'm glad you let me know that 95. I hope I'm looking that awesome when I'm 95 years of age for there. And that's amazing. And I do think that anytime I get to, whether it be, on my aircraft or in my walk or my ministry as a chaplain, or just to be in the things like this, to be amongst our nation's heroes, I consider it to be holy ground and to be an honored place to be. So to me, to be standing here in uniform, representing all of you and all of those out there in our nation that wear this uniform is truly an honor. So we're going to get into the portion of the program where we're going to play the service hymns of our nation's armed services. And we still have Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marines. We got Space Force in there yet? Okay. So if you're in the Space Force, sing with the Air Force. And you can say Army Air Corps if you want, if you go back that far. But it's a way for us to, kind of those of us that have worn the uniform to kind of see who is the best. I'm going to give you a run for your money, Cliff. I'm going to give you a run for your money. So as Aaron comes up, this has been awesome. It is truly a joy of mine to be here and to stand in front of you. And thank you all for coming and supporting not only the Vern Boushell concert series here, but supporting those of us that wear our nation's uniform. So when you hear your service hymn, stand up, sing loud, sing proud, and let's have some fun.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for having us. It's a thrill to always perform this concert. We can't wait to do it next year. And please continue supporting this wonderful series at Riverside Presbyterian Church, and thank you to them for having us. And we're going to close our concert with John Philip Sousa's Stars and Stripes Forever. And thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Appreciate you all.